Shall we die like men?
Let's do it.
Let's do it, boys. Welcome back to Boys Bible Study. Brand new movie edition. What an exciting week. We are coming to you with a brand new Christian film currently in theaters by one of our favorite directors. Can't wait to tell you all about it.
Hey, breaking news, 2 Christians are facing execution in a prison in Indonesia.
It could happen, and it has, as we learned. But as always, Ash here with my co-hosts,
Scott.
And Julian, number 0627.
Oh, yeah.
I am number 5764. I'm here with my co-hosts.
I watched a movie last week where they were number 4 and number 5 in a dystopian future. It's like,
oh, that's cool.
Why even try?
It's so funny. Did
You're the
you
first ones?
Did you notice that like all of the jumpsuits were like handmade? Like the numbering was handmade, and whoever was doing it could only think of like a few numbers because they were all like. 2 of the main people were like 4, 7, 5, 6, and then another person was like 5, 4, 7, 6.
Yeah, they literally only knew like 5 numbers. That's
really
that's such a good call. I didn't think about that.
Maybe they were like iron-on numbers, and they just bought like, and you only get packs of the same
Sharpied.
number. Oh, okay.
When you look closely,
no
they were
excuse.
Sharpie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Well, it's all the numbers they could think of, I guess. Also, and along the same lines of costuming, the guards all looked pretty different.
We should introduce
should
the
get
movie
into it.
because I got a whole run on the guards.
This movie was insane. There's much to talk about. So, gentle listeners, there's a movie in theaters right now, and I say right now, meaning it probably will not be in here when you're hearing this, because if our theater was anything to judge by the audience of this movie, no one is seeing this movie.
Yes, not even for $6 a ticket, they couldn't get this thing.
We went on half price
get this
Tuesdays.
thing half full,
and there's nobody there. There's a new film in theaters right now. It's called The Firing Squad, and people who enjoy Christian film, they will be happy to know that Kevin Sorbo and even Cuba Gooding Jr. is in this movie. But why we at Boys Bible Study are so incredibly excited for this movie is that it is the new installment in the filmography of Tim Chey. Tim Chey, one of our all-time favorite directors. And I don't know if you guys realize this. This is the 6th Tim Chey movie that we have watched.
That is so crazy. I didn't realize that he did Suing the Devil.
Right.
Yep.
Because that, I feel like we watched and we weren't really like in the Che zone yet. Like we were just like, oh, this movie's so funny. And it has some really weird quirks about it. And then we started watching other Tim Chey movies and we started to realize, oh, he has a very unique set of fears and insecurities. And they come through in all of his films. And there's a little bit of this is in some ways the least Che film in that it doesn't have some of his signature touches, but it still has quite a lot to love. And yeah, we're excited to tell you about it. But before we get into the plot of this film, should we just sort of go over Tim Chey a little bit beyond what I already mentioned?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm looking at the list of
we should list
crimes
off
against Cuba Gooding Jr.
Well,
Oh God!
And also that we
too.
should probably watch his Ben Carson made-for-TV movie.
yes,
You know what?
we
I
should.
tried. Didn't we try watching that at Danny's house one day, Scott? I feel like we turned it off because
that's
it was
right.
boring.
We did. That did happen. That's true.
I think it's kind of boring, unfortunately.
Damn.
I mean, go forth and watch it. But Scott, would you say a little more about Tim Chey?
I think I actually tried it again myself later and fell asleep like 15 minutes in. But yeah. So we first did Suing the Devil. And I believe the second Tim Chey movie we covered was Slamma-Jamma, which was
Sounds
a lot
right.
different, but just as heavy-handed in its like philosophical nature. In Suing the Devil, of course, we have our protagonist sue the devil for trillions of dollars for any crimes against humanity you can imagine. And Malcolm McDowell played the devil, which was awesome. And then in Slamma-Jamma, that was like more down to earth existential about an ex slam dunk champion who becomes a slam dunk champion. Once again, genuinely great dunking in it, and weird cameos from Michael Irvin and Jose Canseco.
Jose Canseco.
Then I really don't remember what order we did these in from here, but the Genius Club, I think we all agree, is our favorite Tim Chey still.
It's great.
Crazy script. One crazy night movie where they get all of the U.S. government gets together what is it, like 8 smartest people on Earth?
Yeah.
They're all Americans.
Highest IQ people.
Highest IQ,
in all,
yes.
in all of the world. And that includes Stephen Baldwin.
Tim Chey is so stupid.
And
It's just everything he does is just a fucking tell on how dumb of a person he is. Including making a movie about like, what if someone sued the devil for all the evil in the world? And then being like, who should I cast in my Christian movie? Oh, how about a guy who's been accused of rape 30 times?
Julian's talking about the Cuba Gooding Jr., to be clear.
30 times?
Not Malcolm McDowell.
oh my God. Okay,
Oh, yeah,
working,
2 separate movies.
we're working our way there. That reminds me though, with the actors. So in the Genius Club, it of course contains, and I think this is not up for debate, the greatest Tom Sizemore role that he has ever had by a long shot, where he is the supervillain in the Genius Club. And that is my one complaint with the Firing Squad. No Tom Sizemore. I feel like he would have fit right in somewhere.
Oh, you're right.
He would have been a great warden.
Yeah. Although I did.
Yeah,
that's true. Although I did like the warden in the movie. But then we also covered Gone, which was his 2002 Rapture movie where Tim Chey is in it himself.
As a demon.
Yeah. And
or the devil. I don't remember.
Yes, it's something like that. He's bad.
He had like weird cat eyes.
Mm-hmm. And for the Mark of the Beast, they had those like tribal tattoos.
Oh yeah.
And it was the cast
movie.
of Survivor. It was 2 of the more famous Survivor cast members.
Yeah.
Which was interesting.
Right.
He always has a celeb. He's good at landing like a D-list celebrity or higher.
Yes.
But
and
usually
especially in that one, using what resources are available to him, which seemed fairly vast. And that was definitely shot in the Philippines, which I'm guessing, I didn't look it up. I think the Firing Squad also was probably shot in the Philippines, not actually Indonesia.
There were a couple Los Angeles scenes.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Specifically the train escape scene that was supposed to be in Indonesia, and the signs on the train said like Wilshire, Vermont, red line stop.
And
I don't know if you noticed that, Scott, but yes.
No,
but anyway.
I didn't notice. That's really funny.
He was just
glad
at like the stop I used when I commuted to work for several years.
Was funny. And that leads us to the last movie that we covered with Tim Chey, which is Live Fast, Die Young, which is probably the closest dialogue wise to the Genius Club, but all takes place in one house in LA, which is also a house that David Dakota has shot in.
Wow.
Right.
It's
Because
the DIY film Fuck House.
Yeah. Pretty much.
How does this guy get money to make these movies? Does he get money to make these movies? Is he just swimming in debt? Like where? It's just such a mystery.
Well, there's that. You guys watched that video of him saying like he basically did this promo within a few days before the movie released to theaters, saying like, you guys are going to love this. This is the best movie I've made. It's going to bring so many people to Christ. I can't wait to hear your stories about what miracles happened in the theater.
Okay.
Oh, we did have a miracle.
We should tell. So
when
about
you
our
have that
miracles
kind
in
of
the theater
confidence,
at some point.
When you have that kind of confidence, I feel like you can get the money.
Yeah,
Right.
that's true. All you have to do is talk to the right person with that kind of fucking.
And he's made many films. I mean, he's
Yeah.
made several films that we haven't seen yet. We still
On
haven't
paper-
watched Interview with the Antichrist.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
gotta
like
watch
on
that.
paper, you could just show a rich guy your like resume and be like, look at all these movies I've made.
And they have this person in it and this person in it. And
Jose Canseco.
yeah. So let's talk about some Tim Chey tropes, things that we were looking forward to, or saw in this movie, without getting too deep into the firing squad, because there's just a couple things I wanted to point out. The first is that almost every Tim Chey movie is about a gathering of really hot guys who are all like friends with each other.
Yeah.
He does a lot of stuff with like male friendships in his movies. It's usually like two really hunky white guys who are sort of like indiscriminate from each other. Like they're not even really different characters. Like
it's just two guys. They're just like either mad at each other, but they love each other. They're inseparable. It's such an like DIY trope of just, I always point it out, but like people who hate each other, but for some reason can't get away from each other.
Yes. That's very Chey. Something we love about Tim Chey that honestly we didn't get a ton of in this movie, a bit disappointing. In fact, we did a whole special episode on this, you might remember, is the Chey Zone.
Yeah.
We released a bonus episode where Scott literally edited together every insane monologue from a Tim Chey movie. I think it ended up being over an hour long.
Wow.
Where it's just a character just launching into, or multiple characters. Sometimes it's not just one character. It's frequently a room full of people, and each person takes their turn just launching into like a diatribe
about how much they hate the world.
Yeah,
typically.
or an aspect of the world, and they're all sort of comparing notes about something they hate.
Yeah. This one didn't really have it, but the warden had what is his name again?
I don't remember.
Captain
Scott, you
Tanner?
said it Captain
Tanu.
Tanu. Yeah.
The main
Captain
character.
Tanu, he ranted a couple times. They like dipped into it a little bit. He referred to the ex-girlfriend as a gold digger just for no reason.
Right.
That was
then,
kind of a
like, to her
Darmanism,
face.
actually.
Yes, it was.
I was pointing. I said that.
Yeah,
last
Julian
night.
said that last night.
The just talking about it was very weak. He just kept saying everything was stupid. He kept saying like God was stupid, love was stupid. He said sports were stupid, which was pretty awesome. Oh no, he didn't say that. I'm sorry. But a frequent note that Tim Chey hits is like the sports ball. Like, I think in Gone, there was like a rant about people waking up on Sunday morning to watch to worship at the
Super Bowl.
Yeah, the Super Bowl, and like
he literally talks like that in the movie. He's like, "But you have to watch your Super Bowl."
Straight up hates sports, despite the fact that he made a whole movie about basketball.
But he talked shit on football and Live Fast, Die Young as well.
Yes.
Maybe he just hates football.
I think he just really hates football, but in this film, a character did say that they felt their life was out of control because they were wrapped up in like money and gambling and sports.
Yes, one of
not gambling on sports, gambling and sports. So
Michael Jordan style.
Yeah.
The line in the movie, I actually I was taking a lot of notes in the theater during the film because there was complete anarchy in there, so it didn't matter what I did. One of the two main characters says, like, I'm caught in this illusion of money, gambling, and sports. And like it happened so quickly that I wouldn't have clocked it, but like Julian was sitting next to me, he's like, did you hear that line about sports? And I was like, oh my God, he got his fucking hit on sports in the firing squad. It was just so quick, like blink and you miss it. But like, this man hates sports ball.
He really does. It's so strange. It makes me think like, it's just, we were talking about how like his like belief system is just so cynical and rooted in like things that it seems like he had within his grasp, but then lost. Yes. Like he clearly liked sports at some point, although Slamma Jamma is about like an athlete who like turns to God.
Right. But
like
he also Michael Irvin and Jose Canseco are in that movie, and like the dunking in it is really good. Like he took the time to make sure that they had time to have good dunkers show good dunks.
So maybe it is just just football because
Football for
they
some
don't
reason.
typically play basketball on like Sunday mornings. So I think football, especially
go.
if you're the thing that gets me though, and I pointed this out before, is like it's just kind of a West Coast thing because if you like a West Coast team, your games aren't starting until 1 p.m., 4 p.m.
Right.
You know, it's
You can
just
go to church.
It's just if you like an East Coast team and you live in the West Coast, then the games start at 10 a.m. But I mean, like everybody who in those regions, like they go to church and then watch football.
Right.
That's a
Those
good
don't
point.
have to be. Those
Yeah.
don't have to be, in contrast to each other. But to Tim Chey, they are. But I cannot believe that he said I was caught in the illusion of sports for no reason in this movie. It makes no sense. And Tim Chey also be throwing in some casual misogyny. There's that scene where the ex-girlfriend like basically like rats on him in jail or like leaves him there, and he's just like, that's what gold diggers always do. They leave. Like the prison guard says that to her for no reason.
No reason.
Completely inappropriate.
Captain Tanu, who is like who arrests people and he interrogates people, and he's also the warden of the prison.
He's a busy guy.
He really is.
Booked and busy.
Yeah.
Oh, I know the other thing about Tim Chey. Tim Chey hates Hollywood.
Yes.
He despite obviously, being a prolific filmmaker who works with actors, who works in the Hollywood system, who will, for stunt casting, book a fallen former A-list Oscar-winning actor who now has many rape charges against him for his movie. If you hate the Hollywood system so much, why would you cast Cuba Gooding Jr. in your movie?
I know.
Why do you need to reinforce the Hollywood system to get your film shown? What's the point?
I don't know, because has Cuba Gooding Jr. had some sort of like turn towards the Lord or something, or
Not that I know of.
and he is rough. He is really. I just looked him up. He's 56 years old. He sounds like he has like swallowed a box of nails or something. He has fallen. I mean,
He looks and
rightfully
sounds
so,
bad.
but he does not sound or look good.
He's aged quickly the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gleaned that from this movie.
Yeah. Well, his good friend Sean Combs has ended up in the prison in Indonesia and is facing death by firing squad for human trafficking. What did Diddy do?
I don't really follow that story. I think so. Well, the firing squad. So we went into the firing squad thinking this is the newest movie by our boy Tim Chey. Julian and I saw it together last night. We sat down, noticed the theater with 4 or 5 other people in it, and I asked Julian. I said, "How many other people in this theater do you think have watched 5 Tim Chey movies before being at the screening today?" I was feeling genuinely snobby sitting there.
Yeah,
I was like,
same.
these are not real Tim Chey fans. These are fair weather fans.
Dang.
Yeah.
Like I've been with Tim Chey for years.
We had 2 walkouts.
Right.
It was
2
a couple.
walkouts?
They walked out like 40 minutes into the film, which I was just like, such an odd time. Like, how do you end up in this movie? And they were sitting there at 15 minutes before the movie started. They were in there before we were, and walked out like 40 minutes in, and I was like, what happened? Like, what? The movie is just pretty much the same level of like shittiness from the start to the finish. And I was like, was there like how did you come to the decision 40 minutes in where you were like, this is not going to get any better?
Here's what I'm going to assume. I'm going to assume they both found Christ, but they're both very high-powered people, and they figured now that they found Christ, they didn't need to see the end of the movie because they got what they came for.
Yeah.
Oh.
And they wanted to go out into the world and convert other people to Christ.
Yeah.
That's that's the best case scenario. Yeah.
One guy sitting a couple seats down from me fell asleep halfway through and was snoring pretty loudly. And then we had our favorite couple who...
and then like a solid like 30, 40 minutes, because it was after the previews, which were like kind of long, and then, you know, about 20 minutes of the movie.
It was at least half an hour after the start time of the movie.
This couple walks in. Well, first it's just a woman.
Yeah.
And she walks in and just stands in the aisle and addresses the whole theater and just says, "Did it just start?" To which a man closest to the aisle said, "Yes." Which is not true, but
no.
How were any of
She
us
missed
supposed
a decent
to,
chunk of the movie?
how are any of us supposed to respond? She sits down in the back row. Then a couple minutes later, an old man, you know, it didn't seem like walking was the easiest for him, but he comes like stomping up the theater.
Yeah.
Like he's like a knight in armor.
Yeah.
Like it's just like boom, boom, boom. It's like, dude.
Yes.
Sits down. He's holding like 3 cups of liquid.
Yeah.
You explain
Nice.
this.
He was holding 3 drinks, and she said something like, "I thought you were getting 4." And he goes, "They would only give me 3." And I'm trying to accurately reproduce the volume at which they were speaking in a movie theater,
Full voice.
while the movie is playing, like trying to talk to each other over the movie,
Yes.
while sitting literally right next to each other behind us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was that interaction, and then in the film, there's a scene where our anti-hero, I guess you could say, is reminiscing on his days of, you know, flaunting his wealth as a drug runner. And also there's a little joke whenever a guard in the prison calls him a drug dealer, he refers to himself as a drug runner.
He says, "No, I'm a drug runner."
And so from that point on, whenever someone called him a drug dealer, he wouldn't even say, "I'm a drug runner" in the film, but the lady behind us would yell, "Drug runner."
Yes. She would speak to the movie.
Yes. And
At full voice.
these drug runners are with their girlfriends buying some of the most hideous art I have ever seen in my life at some place in like Beverly Hills. But
By somebody who
they're
could
shown-
sell them anything. That guy could tell them. You could be like, you just like shit on the floor in front of them and be like, "That's what art is now."
This is
And be like, "Oh, okay."
$34,000.
he shows them a sculpture of an astronaut suit, which is like painted orange and covered in like Dogecoin memes. And he says, "This is $25,000." And our main character says, "I'll take 2 of them." And then they cut to another scene, and the guy behind us just goes, "They bought 2 spacesuits?" "Oh, they're sculptures."
He says statues.
"Oh, they're
He said,
statues."
"Oh, they're statues."
Yeah, but it
Again,
was just
at
like
full
the thing-
voice.
It was, to me, I was like, does he think they're like planning on going to outer space or
think
something?
so.
Yeah, what would have been the
Like he's trying to piece together what's coming next in this film.
I think he thought they were going to space because he was like, "They bought 2 spacesuits."
He was like, "Oh man, if I wish that was the movie we had seen, the one
No.
that he was expecting in that moment." And then the disappointment of, "Oh, they're statues."
their squad fires off to space.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit about our film experience. Oh, also talk about the film experience because it's not often we see these live. Pardon me. There's a scene in the movie where the atheist prison guard, Captain Tanu, says, "Religion is the bane of our existence." And then all across Southern California, we experienced a magnitude 5.9 earthquake
Yeah.
that shook the entire movie theater.
It was scary.
What?
It was
I
kind of
like,
scary.
I'm supposed to see Twisters in 4DX soon, and I realized I'm going to throw up during that movie because I like when that earthquake hit, I was just like, "Whoa, I am really dizzy."
Yeah.
But then everybody, I believe the person behind us just loudly
Earthquake!
yelled
That's
"earthquake."
what she said. I remember that.
Wow.
So that was a bit about our theater experience. It was actually like pretty chaotic. So I just was taking notes on my phone the entire time. I was like, well, obviously this is just total anarchy.
Yeah.
So I don't give a fuck. And Julie and I were, talking and laughing as, we tried to be somewhat polite, but, we were enjoying ourselves.
It's wild
I was
that-
drunk off white wine. I was drinking.
It's wild how well-mannered we are trying to respect like the audience. The people who went there wanting to see the movie are just like talking over it and like
walking out,
walking in and out, like fucking standing up and stretching in the middle of it, like fucking checking their phones. And you and me are like, oh, we better not giggle during this stupid fucking movie.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking that way too. Fortunately, my friend I went with did not refrain from bursting out laughing at things that were genuinely very funny.
This movie was awesome. I will say it is not one of his strongest movies, but it was just a consistent hilarious.
Yes, I do. I think it was his funniest though. I really do.
Yes.
Yeah. From start to finish, it was definitely his funniest movie.
I was laughing. Wait, Scott, how was your theater experience?
Not bad. There were only I went on Friday, which was the opening day in Wilmington, and it was the latest showing was like 2:55 in the afternoon, and so there were probably about 20 people there. They were all much older than me, and it was a fairly respectful audience, I'd say, because I've definitely had the experience with most Christian movies that I've gone to see when they come out, people being what I would consider disrespectful towards the screening experience.
I know. And mind you, these are ostensibly like the Christians who are going. These are not people like us. They're not throwing tomatoes. They're just straight up just like talking to each other like they're at a party.
Yes.
I said this last night, but it is I don't know where, these people are coming from, at least in our theater, but it's so funny to me that like, and Ash has heard me say this like 4 times by now, but it's so funny to me that like the seemingly least media literate individuals are like going to see media that is like so incomprehensible and like terribly made that there is absolutely no way that they could ever like, grow to understand a film that is, I guess the quality is any higher than this.
Yeah.
It's just, you're just being hamstrung from the ground floor.
Yeah, it's a movie that treats you like an idiot, but is also incomprehensibly made.
Yes.
So you're not really gonna.
It's like total
learn
nonsense. So you
how to
can't go
watch a
see
movie.
like a good movie because you'd be like confused. It would be even more confusing to see like a well-made movie after this.
Yes.
Yeah. It's actually it's really fitting that it is basically a Southeast Asian movie, because the closest thing it is to is like the Southeast Asian nonsense movies that are just like, no matter what the premise is, it's like still a comedy ultimately, like very goofy at random moments, or like did either of you used to watch the show The State?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's that one skit where like they're in prison and there's just like a big opening to the prison, and I'm like, oh, how'd you get out of prison? And he's like, you remember that big open door over there? I just walked out. There, I kept thinking about that because that is the setup in this prison.
Yes.
It's just like
This
a
is
big.
the only. I called it a Montessori prison.
This was wild.
It's like an
have
open
you
doors
described
prison.
the plot of this film yet?
No, barely anything. They know
Okay,
it's
it
about a
doesn't even
firing
matter.
squad.
Real quick,
They're
it
in
does
jail.
not matter. Real quick, two drug runners go to jail and they're separated for no fucking reason. But we follow this
think there is a
blonde
reason.
British guy who goes to prison. Oh yeah, there is a reason. But we basically follow this drug dealer and his like co-worker in prison where he meets other people. And is
including Cuba Gooding Jr.
I guess it's kind of like a Cool Hand Luke kind of like terrible prison, like evil warden, but like their version of an evil warden is a guy who just goes, "Love is stupid, 4 eyes. What are you looking at?" Like one of the least threatening. The guy is like a substitute teacher.
Yeah.
And he's just like, not at all threatening in any way.
He's a big teddy bear making a grumpy face.
Yeah, he also like threatens to kill guys who are on death row. Like he tells them that you're not escaping from here, you're going to die by firing squad, and then he'll be like, if you keep talking back to me, I'm going to shoot you in the head where you stand. And it's like a totally empty threat.
You're literally already going to do that. And in the beginning of this movie, the warden brags about how, like, in Indonesia, we actually do kill you. It's not like America where you sit on death row for 30 years.
Yeah.
But still, how lucky for them they got put into the English-speaking prison in Indonesia, where even though everybody is there on drug charges, which as you may know, in Indonesia, there's like a zero tolerance, death penalty policy for drug charges. But lucky for them, they found the one prison for death row inmates that is like completely open door. You can have women alone with you in your cell. Mm-hmm. You can basically come and go whenever you need. Also, everyone speaks English.
There's 4 buildings. Somehow someone had... So there's a extremely funny sequence where Cuba Gooding Jr. and our hero, whatever his name was, the British guy...
I don't remember. He's a hot British guy.
It's irrelevant.
Tim Chey clearly has the hots for him.
Yeah, him and his friend who's also an American who was helping them run drugs into China. They concoct a scheme to break out by dressing like quote unquote, the media.
Yeah.
And then just walking out. And you may be wondering, what is the media? How are they going to dress like them? Who are they communicating with the outside to figure out this plan when they're explicitly told that they will not speak to anyone outside the prison ever again? None of those questions are answered, and just one day, Cuba Gooding Jr. has a bag of suits from Goodwill.
Suits that fit them all. And And
they just straight up walk out of the prison where there are like 7 guards working. And for whatever reason, they don't recognize them. And they're just allowed to go and get in a Ford pickup truck that is waiting for them 5 feet from the entrance to the prison.
To be fair, these these guards are working to keep their jobs and for no other reason. Like there's a point where there's just guards wandering around aimlessly behind them, like they're like at a petting zoo or something.
Yeah,
that was one of my notes.
One of my notes was that the extras were the real star of the movie because every scene there is like 15 extras just pacing back and forth and like walking in circles while 2 actors deliver some of the worst dialogue you've ever heard in your life.
And like the guards and the prisoners are all like fraternizing. They're all like friends. It's like summer camp.
It really is.
It's like summer camp if everyone there is about to be executed.
Yeah, they just hang out. The guards go to church with the prisoners and like also convert to Christianity. It's very, very bizarre setup. It makes me think that Tim Chey has never even never seen like an episode of Locked. Did very little research into what a prison is like before this film.
And like, it's just, oh man, so many funny things about the movie. First of all, that escape scene, I want to point out, which is, as you said, one of the funniest parts of the movie. There's a line where Cuba Gooding Jr. uses the word inconspicuous to mean the opposite of what it means. He means to say conspicuous, and he says inconspicuous. He's like, put these on. We'll look. He's like, we can't be seen outside the prison. Like, we'll look inconspicuous, which is like, well, that's the opposite of what that means.
Right.
Then I love when they let them escape, and then afterwards, Captain Tanu is like, "Why'd you let them escape?" And they're all just like, "Sir, I'm sorry, sir."
Yes, he gets punched in the stomach off screen.
Yeah,
and then they escape via train, and they're just on the Los Angeles Metro line.
Yeah.
There's just like signs in English, and there's like a stop sign that says like Wilshire, Vermont. It's like, bro, you're not in Indonesia.
I did not even notice that's so funny.
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, no, that whole escape, because the escape is like Cuba Gooding Jr. is telling them the plan, and then is like, And they're like, how are you going to get the suits, though? And he's like, leave that to me. And that just cuts to him with the bag of suits, like you're saying.
It was very Three Stooges.
So funny. Yes.
And they were like walking out, and Cuba Gooding Jr.'s like riffing. And it's so funny when like people who are clearly not good at, like, they're, professional actors, but then they have to like improvise in these horrible Christian movies because there's like essentially no script. Mm-hmm. And they'll say stupid shit like, oh, we have to pretend to be media members. And then he's like walking out in this like ill-fitting suit just going, and then we're going to interview the president. And then we're going to interview the head of the police. And then, oh, hi, we're just trying to leave this prison. It's like very
so
like,
stupid.
12-year-old playing pretend.
Oh, what a nightmare.
I'm going
to And then he's basically like, oh, my credentials were in my other pants. They're like, okay,
so
bye.
Stupid. I mean, lots about this movie. Again, the plot is very stupid. It really doesn't matter to go over it in order. I do want to use this time to introduce that in prison, our main character, whose name we genuinely do not care about, actor who's not famous, character who's very boring, but he gets converted to Christianity by Kevin Sorbo.
Yes.
Who is in the prison. And this is one of my favorite moments of the movie. Later in the film, Kevin Sorbo finally reveals why he's in prison and going to suffer death by firing squad. And it's because he committed murder. Mind you, he's been like a sweet, even-handed preacher in prison the whole time.
Yeah.
He's been a guiding light to the other inmates. He committed murder, and this was his story. He was surfing in Bali, and he saw a man on the beach with his girlfriend, and then he found out that the two of them were having an affair. So he went crazy and killed them.
Mm-hmm.
So I repeat, he was surfing in Bali, and he saw a man on the beach talking to his girlfriend, and he killed him.
Yep.
That's awesome.
That's world building.
Mm-hmm. I'm imagining
Very
him
good.
surfing right in from the wave. He like catches it mid-wave, glides straight into the beach, hops off, and goes up and just murders the guy with his bare hands.
Throws a starfish like a ninja star into him.
Yeah.
It was also funny how he mentioned several times that he was going to be executed 1 month from, like, at one point he announced to everyone, he said, I will be executed in 1 month. And then like the next title card we get says 3 months later and he's still alive.
Right.
They just had like they did not care about any consistencies with this movie at all. At one point, they definitely had a different black person playing the Cuba Gooding Jr. role when they're like escaping, and they were just like,
notice that.
And then after the fact, they were just like, oh, that character left us, and he put us in touch with a Nigerian who would get us like onto the train, like where we needed to go. But he was like wearing the same outfit as Cuba Gooding Jr. in the other scene.
They
in
had to
fact,
film
it fit
that
a lot better, and he was like clearly a lot taller than
They had
Cuba
to
Gooding
film
Jr.
that before they got Cuba.
Yeah,
That was why.
Yeah,
it was
I
so
bet.
funny.
Well, so there were a couple, I felt like there were probably a couple things like that where they just sort of pivoted with the script a little bit, because I was thinking, we don't care about the plot, but the two main guys who get busted for drug running, once they get caught, they're like, and we're sending you to different prisons because that's how much we hate you. And I felt like that was just added in because the guy who gets sent away obviously was supposed to have a bigger role than he did, because they keep having flashbacks with him too. So it's like it's like he got a real role or something. I was like, oh, I can't keep shooting your movie, Tim.
Yeah, like, did he have to leave the production?
It kind of felt like that.
The biggest one, I don't know if either of you noticed this, but spoilers, but Cuba Gooding Jr. gets executed. He's one of the two Christians who are executed that becomes like global news at one point for whatever reason.
Yeah.
He's executed, and they show a close-up of his face on the ground, and there's literally another person's face like dead lying next to him that's like cut off in the corner of the screen, but it's not the British guy.
Oh my God.
Like, there was clearly supposed to be a third person who was killed in that scene standing next to Cuba Gooding Jr. Very strange. It kind of reminded me of like the hanging dwarf in the back of Wizard of Oz, or
Ooh.
the man in the back of 3 Men and a Baby or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, something is afoot with this movie. It really just feels like where they ended is not where they planned to end. It's very different from where it started, and like that's clear all through the movie, where like, you know, a bunch of confusing editing, storytelling, discontinuities make this film even more incoherent than it would be otherwise.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of really interesting themes in The Firing Squad, and a lot of really strange ways that like Christianity is interpreted. Probably my favorite theme of The Firing Squad was that you have to die in a certain way. It was basically an etiquette guide for how to get executed. So what we learn is that if you're a Christian and you're being dragged to be executed, if they ask you for a last meal, you have to say no. If they ask you if you have any last words, you have to say no, or you can say something kind of Christian. And you're not allowed to wear a blindfold.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to not be scared.
Yeah.
You have to not be scared.
Happy.
You have to die like a man.
Yeah.
And this is interesting, Scott, because remember when we watched that documentary by the
Spiritual
Wall Builders?
Heritage. Yep, by the Wall
Spiritual
Builders.
Heritage of the U.S. Capitol, we learned that apparently to the founders of our country, it was seen as very virtuous to die in a stoic manner. And that they judged people's Christianity by like their last words and like what they said in their like last breath, you know, that indicated like whether you were truly at peace.
You basically had to say,
yeah,
I regret nothing. I lived a great life. All
you're
good
telling
here.
me this for the first time.
Feeling good.
Yes.
Yeah, feeling good. Going to heaven. Peace.
Yeah.
This movie alleges that if you are a Christian, if you are truly at peace, even the insane, scary circumstance of being lined up against a wall and shot in a country, in a culture you don't understand, you wouldn't be at all scared by that.
Yeah.
You'd be completely
happy.
at peace. Yeah. Which, I mean, what is Christianity supposed to make you like a lamb to the slaughter? I mean, I know that that's like sort of a metaphor within Christianity, but like if you watch a movie like this, you think that like what you're supposed to be as a Christian is just like, yeah, whatever, kill me. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, have some dignity, you know?
It's like not, the thing is like, it's also like, I would understand that more if they were, I would understand that angle for this more if they were being executed for being Christian.
Right.
Which is how the movie advertises itself.
Yeah, right.
They are being
That's true.
executed for like running a like $1 million drug smuggling ring, like selling drugs to poor people.
Yeah.
And then like skipping town and spending all their money on themselves, or murdering someone on the beach in a jealous rage. And I understand, you know, people can change, but those are pretty heinous crimes. Not saying you should be executed for them, but the movie at a certain point makes a shift into like, oh, trying to be like, you're executing these people because they're Christian and therefore they should be like, shouldn't be scared because they're dying for their faith. Not true at all.
Well, they were trying to say like, well, they changed. I personally feel like they changed and are a good person now, so it's not fair.
Exactly. Right. You should have a second chance. Unlike that nasty little man who is crying and he would never accept Christ even when he was about to die. Like he deserves no second chance, despite the fact that he was set up and less well off than his friend who like put him to the task of delivering the drugs everywhere. That guy doesn't deserve to live.
Right. No. And because he delivered one of the funniest parts of the movie, too, is why he doesn't deserve to live. Because the night before his execution, Johnny, main character, is like, please just read the Bible before your execution tomorrow. And he's like, no. And he's like, why not? He's like, I'm going to read something else. It's like, what are you gonna read? What are you gonna read?
That's exactly what Ash says.
So right. Yeah, I literally. Yeah, I in the theater, not at full voice, mind you. I was being polite, but I just turned to Julian and said out loud, "What else is he gonna read?"
Yeah. And then I think right after that, it cut to some weird shot of like it was supposed to be storming or something, but they used like a snowfall effect.
Oh yeah.
And it was just like snowing at the prison for no reason
so
in Southeast Asia.
So insane. So insane. There's just so many funny one-off moments, like regarding like, you know, their execution and like appeals and stuff like that. I love the part when
Eric Roberts is in this movie. By
yes.
the way.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
we have to mention
I forgot.
the part I was going to mention really quick first is that when the main character is talking and he says, yeah, I'm going to be executed by firing squad, but I still have my Supreme Court appeal. And then for no reason, the movie does a close up on Cuba Gooding Jr.'s face, who like rolls his eyes as if he's jealous.
Yes. It was right after he went up to him and he was like, hey, guess what? I accepted Christ into my heart yesterday.
Right. And Cuba Gooding Jr. goes, I did too.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Cool.
So funny.
I thought he was lying at first.
Me
Because
too.
He came off like such a broken looking man.
Yeah.
But turns out that that's just how he looks in real life.
This is what I'm talking about. This is what these people who don't know what the fuck is happening in a movie have to deal with.
You're right.
Is like
I thought
he was lying too because the movie is so shitty.
Yeah. That was like, why would a character just be like, oh yeah, I did too, about the most important thing that it alleges someone could do in their life? Like, why wouldn't we also see that? But no. But yeah, then they're like, yeah, we both accepted Christ. Cool. And the guy says, well, I'm still waiting to see about my Supreme Court appeal. And then it closes up on Cuba Gooding Jr.'s face. And he's like looking around like he's like upset or jealous.
All right. And then just walks away.
So crazy.
You know what I'm realizing right now?
Yeah.
Eric Roberts is in this movie, plays like some attorney representing them who can't do anything to help them. So funny. The way he enters the courtroom is like, clearly we've heard the stories. If you just pay him like $5,000, he'll show up,
right?
Do anything.
Yeah.
So obviously he just that essentially him walking into this scene was like as if he had just parked his car and walked onto set and was like leaving immediately after.
Functionally, yes.
Which I think he might have done because I read that is basically what he did for the movie Something.
Right. Yeah.
Which is silly how much that movie's
so
come up on this
awesome.
podcast. But
we've mentioned Something at least 5 or 6 times. It's a good
and
movie.
I don't know if we've ever mentioned that Eric Roberts is in it. He's in the end of the
Maybe
movie.
not.
And like same thing. It's like they're like just show up in a cop uniform and we'll hold up the title cards for you to read. Like it really felt
what a
like
guy.
that.
What a guy. He'll do that shit and then he'll be in the fucking Dark Knight.
Yeah.
At the same time. It's so crazy. Good for him. But
he was in
just loves
Babylon
acting.
2 years ago. That movie was awesome. It was like
he loves acting.
Yeah.
Major respect.
He
He's
does.
like, you know, it's like when you see the footage of like NBA players playing like street ball.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you know, when you love the thing you do.
Right.
Yep.
He's basically the
it's-
Kevin Durant of acting. He's just a hooper. He loves to play.
It's crazy how we watched a movie with Kevin Sorbo, Eric Roberts, and Stephen Baldwin in it last week.
Yeah.
And this week we have Kevin Sorbo, Eric Roberts, and the director who previously had Stephen Baldwin in one of his movies.
True. Yeah.
Totally.
And now we have no Sorbo and no Baldwin and no. Anyway, go on. Please.
But these movies were completely unrelated from each other.
Yeah.
True.
I don't know. It's just wild how much these 3 guys show up in fucking Christian movies.
They show
together,
up.
not related to each other. I mean, they may not even have interacted with each other
Right.
during this whole experience, but they're in everything. They're insanely prolific.
When Kevin Sorbo showed up on screen, someone in the theater went, "Oh."
It was obviously the woman who was talking about everything.
But
It was
yeah.
clearly
That-
her.
When he did
But
show
still.
up, was
But it was
so funny
wild
too.
to hear like somebody react to seeing Kevin Sorbo. in
Yeah,
a
that's
Christian
awesome.
movie.
I was hoping somebody else would, but it was just me and my friend. But when he came on screen, it was so unassuming. He just like walked into frame, like from the side. It was like not like there was no respect for the for having Sorbs in your movie.
Movie was not well made. We were saying earlier, you notice the extras more than you notice the like top billed stars in this movie, and we should talk about the guards for a little bit, because
let's talk
the
about
prisoners
the
thing about the prisoners before we get to the guards is that they obviously ran out of orange jumpsuits that they ordered from Amazon, because a random small number of prisoners are just wearing brown jumpsuits for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
And similar to the guards, who are all wearing different uniforms, including one single old man who is dressed like a milkman for some reason, like in like a purple milkman outfit.
Yeah, he was
and
in
has like a
shot,
Santa Claus like beard. And he just like, he'll randomly pop up in the background of the film, and every time he's there, it is just like you can't look at anything else.
Yeah, there's a scene where Julian just like tapped me on the shoulder and was just like, "Look at that guy," and I started cracking up because it was like he was just staring side profile.
It was
just like
so
off
funny.
Into space.
My theory is that they ran out of prison guard uniforms, and they told him to get his own, and he ordered like a prison guard outfit from like the 50s. Because he's the only guy wearing that outfit. It's so funny.
Oh man, yeah.
And clearly someone told him he was a prison guard and did not tell him what this movie was.
For sure.
And he just got like Googled prison guard outfit and got that one.
Probably never got reimbursed either.
Oh, hell no.
He got his check for working on it, but he probably, they lost his receipt, obviously.
Yeah.
Or he didn't know how to email them his receipt, so he never got that like $25 back.
Yeah, it was awesome. And the prison shackles were clearly like Party City Halloween decorations.
That was so funny.
The chains were like,
they had these giant
Hulk-sized chains.
They had these giant chains on, but none of them were like holding them with like they had any weight to them.
Yeah.
They were just like wearing them like bracelets. It was so funny. What a good movie.
And in the actual prison, all the prison cells were always open. It was like whatever the facility was, they were borrowing. Like they could not close those doors. That was not an option.
Every building was like open at all times. When they change into the media outfits that they sneak out with, they do it in front of the building that we see the warden like walking in and out of as if that's his office. And they're like sneaking around in a big open field. But my favorite was when they executed the prisoners, they did it in front of like a wall with a door in it, which made me think like somebody is just like working on the other side of this wall as they're like firing bullets at it.
Someone thinks that someone's knocking at the door.
Yeah.
It's their door frame being riddled with bullets from firing squad.
Right. This is like wooden siding on the side. It's like a garage that they're up against.
So good.
With white wooden siding.
They couldn't find a wall.
Like it looks like you would see the bullet holes if they really shot into it.
So funny. And yeah, there was just so much shit like that. It was just so not careful. I mean, it's one thing to, be low budget or be DIY, but like this movie was just so like lazy and not careful about anything like that. It was just so every scene was so incongruous.
Everything before the prison scene, almost everything was shot either stolen shots in LA, including like driving a red Corvette or Lamborghini or something.
I believe a Ferrari.
Oh,
I just remember seeing it because it had a Ferrari license plate.
Yeah,
that said runner on it, as if to say they were drug runners.
They definitely rented a Ferrari for like an hour and drove it like 30 feet at like 10 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And you can see a reflection in the car while I'm assuming Tim Chey filmed it on like a bird scooter riding next to it. I was like trying to make out how did they film this? Because there's no way they shut down the street.
Right.
Or it's like stuff like that, or it is stock footage where they are like green screened in on it, or they just keep using the same shot of like a really shitty CGI private plane flying by.
There was definitely a bunch of stock footage in the.
Yeah, I said this to Julian last night. I think I want to ban stock footage because like I think it's like I see it more and more in like newer DIY films. I think just because it's become like very cheap and very available.
Yeah.
But like I've started, and it's only I didn't used to think this. It's only because now I've seen it so much. I kind of just think it's lazy now.
Yeah.
Like film your backyard and say it's Indonesia.
Yeah.
I mean, I would rather them have filmed the train station in Los Angeles than used like stock footage. I get if you're trying to have a jet, you know, not everyone can have a jet. But there was like other things like especially like drone shots and like stock footage shots of like landscape and stuff. It's like, don't do that.
It's unnecessary. It's like not part of the movie, like in your brain. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Every time they were in another quote unquote another country, they would have like some crazy drone shot of like a tourist center in like Indonesia or Hong Kong or something. It was like just reusing the same shit every time to like try to trick us into thinking that like, oh, they traveled all the way to Indonesia to be in like a single room in an Airbnb.
That was like the first 2 minutes they went to like 3 drastically different places in the world just via stock footage and
while they were carrying
titles.
cocaine.
I guess
There's
so.
no way that this shit would happen. And yes, you're right. And it just was all with like stock footage. And yeah, it was just so cheap. And it was just like, people think that it makes their movie look legit.
Yeah.
Because, if we have a jet shot in this movie, then like, you know, that makes the movie look legit. And it like doesn't. To me, it just like makes the rest of your movie look cheap by comparison.
Yeah. Don't
Scott,
do it.
Did you have the trailer? Did you have the trailer for the Mel Gibson movie before?
Oh, yeah.
With Mark Wahlberg as the assassin on the plane. That looked so funny.
Yes.
Talk about low budget.
Yeah.
Did you see that? That was the one where he was on the plane.
Too.
I didn't recognize Mel Gibson
another
for
plane
some
one.
reason.
He was it was Mel Gibson directing it, but it was like Mark
right.
Wahlberg and like
Wow.
or not Topher
Yes.
Grace but it was crazy because it was a fucking. The thing is, this was before a Christian movie. And is Mel Gibson toxic or not anymore? Because he's working so much, but it just said from the director of Braveheart, Hacksaw Ridge, whatever.
That's funny.
No mention of Passion of the Christ or Mel Gibson. It seems like you would be like, oh, if this plays before a Christian movie, just say Mel Gibson, director of Passion of the Christ.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't
Even though
playing
it's a
like
film
Christian
about
movie
a fucking
trailers.
hitman on a plane.
right.
They weren't playing Christian movie trailers for us. I mean, they kind of did because like there was some
Reagan
stuff with, like,
movie.
Christian themes.
Did you get the trailer for the Reagan movie?
We did
No.
not get the Reagan movie. I would have. We got the trailer for this like Pope movie,
Yeah, like a Catholic thriller.
like a chamber drama about the Vatican, and I thought that Mel Gibson movie was going to be like a low budget Christian movie because of how it looked. And then I saw that like Mark Wahlberg was in it, and I was like, "Oh, okay," because it looked like bad.
Yeah.
And this horrible fucking CGI movie about like Santa being kidnapped.
Did you get that one?
I did not.
It's
get
literally the
One.
plot of. It's called Red One, which is very interesting because Lady Gaga's producer is called Red One. I wonder
Really?
if they had to like buy the rights from him.
Oh, we
or
also saw
something.
Lady Gaga in the Joker.
in the
trailer.
Joker, Folly Adu. But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, the plot of this upcoming movie where it's like CGI and it's like they have to like Lucy Liu's in it, and was it The Rock?
It was The Rock. Yeah.
And it's like they have to rescue Santa from being kidnapped. Same plot as Christmas Zombies by The Rock.
Oh,
By the
nice.
rights. Okay, not exactly the same because there's no zombies in it, but a very similar concept to the Wright family Christmas Zombies movie. So keep an eye out for that one. It
Nice.
looks like shit. These all look like they look like films that if someone was like, "Oh, look at these shitty Russian films from 10 years ago."
Yeah.
Like none of them looked like real movies. Like I was like, do we not make like real movies anymore?
All right, I went to the Reagan movie
Sometimes.
YouTube channel, and
I mean,
they have the trailer, and then the most recent video is Dennis Quaid and Jordan Peterson break down the importance of Reagan's Star Wars program from what looks like a fake Oval Office set. And it's got like the weird TikTok captions where it shows like 3 words at a time and it's like highlighting them in yellow as if it's like a karaoke song.
that's so funny. Is this the same Reagan movie that has Scott Stapp as Frank Sinatra?
What?
Right? It's
maybe.
like I think it's the same one. It has like all the, Republican actors in it.
What in the fucking world? Really?
Yeah, let me double check
It's with Dennis Quaid. Yeah, look it up.
because I'm pretty sure on Wikipedia. Yeah, this is absolutely the one. Yeah, Dennis Quaid is Ronald Reagan. It's allegedly features Scott Stapp of Creed in an acting role playing
true.
Frank Sinatra.
In December 2020,
Wow.
it was announced that Stapp would portray Frank Sinatra in an upcoming biopic film
Dang.
based on the life of U.S. President Ronald
Has
Reagan.
John
Do you ever
Voight.
hear anybody say biopic?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
some people have strayed from
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God's light. It also
might
has
have to
John
cover
Voight,
this Reagan
Robert
movie.
Davi. Yeah, we should do it.
Yeah,
Have him
absolutely.
Get Nate on the pod. He's a big Reagan head.
Oh, that's a great idea. We get Nate or Loose Meat.
I'm going to fucking have to eat my words. Wasn't it like a week ago where I was like making fun of people who still rip on Reagan as if they're being like edgy?
Uh-huh.
I don't remember that.
Yeah,
No,
but
I'm
I,
gonna-
I
I'm gonna have
immediately
to
was
do
like,
that.
I don't care. I'm still going to.
Well,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to talk about it soon.
Mm-hmm. Something else we have to talk about soon. We can get as astray from the movie as we want. But I was just thinking, with the side character, because I'm thinking about Eric Roberts being in all this stuff. The person he talks to the most is Miriam, who works at the prison,
Yes.
and is the love interest as the lady in the movie.
So
Yes.
stupid. So once again, by the way, we are talking about the firing squad again. There is a character called Miriam. And basically, I mean, Miriam, in my opinion, straight up pervert. I wrote in my notes, like her character is clearly like she does this over and over again with prisoners on death row. Like,
Yes.
in my opinion, the movie didn't depict this, of course. This is totally my inference, but she's the only woman who missions at a prison in Indonesia where like men go there and then are going to die in a month. So she clearly is forming like emotional relationships with like a new guy every month.
Yeah.
Obviously.
She fucking marries a guy who's going to die in 12 hours.
And how many times has she done that before? We don't know.
Oh my God. Probably so many times. That's probably her favorite thing to do.
He signs over his life savings to her, and she's like, "No, you don't have to make a will for us. It's about love." Well, okay, I understand.
Miriam is a straight up freak, but yeah, she's in the movie for some reason. Why do they let this one woman into the prison? She's literally in the cell with him, just alone, talking about God. And she assists outreach with like the chapel in the prison, which again, in this very bare bones Indonesian prison where, they all have like bunk beds that are made for people who are 5'6", like metal bunk beds. There's still this one like comfortable looking, like fully functional chapel where guards and prisoners like sit next to each other. Like it's like a, like a diagram in a children's book about like peace. And they do church services where they sing Amazing Grace a cappella.
Papa
like
Sorbo sermons to them.
Yeah, in the same fucking voice and mannerism he does everything in.
Yeah.
So funny.
Did you mention the guy wearing the McLovin t-shirt?
Not yet. Why don't you bring that up? Glad you bring that up.
There was just a scene where there was like a Bible study group, and a guy wearing a McLovin t-shirt was just prominently featured. And then they showed a clip from the scene later when it was like, I think it was the main guy like remembering on his like conversion to Christ in prison right before dying. And it was like, man, fucking, if one of the biggest memories of my life is a guy fucking wearing a McLovin t-shirt sitting next to me, I am glad to be gone from this earth.
Yeah, I'm going to petition the Supreme Court to kill me sooner. Yeah. Amazing movie. So
amazing.
Lazy. How do you let someone that extra with the McLovin shirt, mind you, not in anything else in the movie.
No.
Doesn't say any words. How do you, as a film director, like let there just be one guy in a McLovin shirt in your movie?
Like, don't you just look at the footage and you're like, you know what? Maybe we don't need the Bible study scene. I think they get it.
The Bible study scene where nothing happens.
Right.
It's just like a montage during a musical number, like, you know, a background song.
There was a very good chance for there to be a musical in this, I thought, at the end. That's the only other thing. Other than getting Tom Sizemore in here, that's the one other area I thought they could have really put this over the top. And I'm not complaining. I wouldn't have expected it, but... So in the chapel...
Tell us about the ending scene, yeah.
I will.
Or whatever you want to
First,
do.
I'm going to tell you about my theater experience. The only thing that was really an experience for me in watching this. So for the most part, my audience was pretty good. They chit-chatted a little bit here and there, but nothing crazy. And in the chapel at some point, well, before the chapel, Cuba Gooding Jr. says, when I'm going to go out, I'm going to be singing. And then in the chapel, they start singing Amazing Grace. And then people around me also started singing Amazing Grace, which is, it only took like one verse, and then everybody just started chiming in naturally. It was pretty amazing.
That's beautiful.
They finished it out. They did not sing it again, though, when it came up again, because I was waiting for it. And I was like, oh, come on. But I thought that would have been a great chance, because at the end, everybody starts singing it. Like all of the prisoners and some of the prison guards. And Captain Tanu's
it once.
kind of looking around mad. The audience did not at this point. But at this point, I was like, you're all already standing outside your cells because the cells can't close. So it wouldn't make sense if you didn't stand outside your cells. Although you don't move from them, because that would show that it's pure chaos and there's no rules inside this place, because it's impossible to enforce them with the current setup. But I thought they could have taken advantage of that at that point and done like a full musical number to Amazing Grace, like had it picked up a little bit and be like a dancier version, like kind of sister acted it, you know. It was still good,
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have really
elevated it. Made Captain Tanu really mad. He like threw a broom or something.
What is this relationship between Captain Tamu and the prisoners? He's like, oh, you.
Yeah, he's like Colonel Kuntz or whatever, Colonel Clink. Who's the bad guy from fucking Hogan's Heroes? It's basically what he was.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did say that. Why he's so grumpy. He said why he's so grumpy.
Did. Yes. He thinks love is quote unquote stupid and religion is quote unquote stupid because it's Colonel Clink. Yeah. He thinks love is quote unquote stupid because his wife died of cancer shortly after they were married. Which is why he's an atheist.
Sure. And
why he hates love.
I hate
very
love.
little to do with the actual
love.
Like, killing of drug dealers.
I think I cheered like out loud by accident when he said his wife died of cancer because I just wasn't expecting it. Even though it's in like
I thought
pretty much every Christian movie I've seen in theaters, somebody's wife has cancer.
For some reason, I was surprised to hear that. I thought he was going to say like his wife left him for someone else. But no, it's just the wife died of cancer again. At least it wasn't a car accident.
Yeah.
But he does for whatever fucking reason, become a Christian at the very end.
So
and
stupid.
it drives the Christian lady to tears after she said she would never cry again since her father died as a child, and her mom told her not to cry.
Right.
To which she told the guy who was about to die in 12 hours that she married. She was like, I'm so sorry you're marrying a crazy woman. Because she wouldn't cry when he proposed to her. And that scene of just all the shots of the prisoners and guards and the lady crying as the warden came to Christ was amazing.
So amazing.
They were like
I was
hysterically crying.
I was really annoyed with the movie at that point, but it was really funny.
I really, really enjoyed seeing all these people cry. Just like the worst actors on the planet trying to like being told to like
on
cry.
each one individually.
Yeah.
So heavy-handed.
And they're literally
so
like,
funny.
"Wah!"
I know. That I mean, real like I thought this before that too, but I was just like, Tim, how could you possibly think anybody who wasn't a Christian already this would do it for them? You haven't even said anything. You're just like pushing forth the emotion you want them to feel. You have to
yes.
you have to actually bring them to it. You have to build up to, you can't just do the emotion. It doesn't that can work for your characters because you're the director. You can tell them to do whatever you want. You can say, pretend to cry, and we're gonna do a close-up of you like ugly crying or whatever. But you can't just assume that's what happens to the audience too. Like, I respect his confidence in his craft, but like the craft itself needs more crafting. I don't know.
No, it really, that's such a good point, Scott, because like that's actually a really good, concise explanation for why his films can come across as so phony, because it's like, yeah, he wants to direct the audience as much as he wants to like direct the film. He's giving you the script. It's almost like how in this movie he's telling you the correct way to die.
Yes.
He's also telling you like the correct way to feel.
It's just kind of, I feel like it derives from his like cynical outlook on life and just his like smugness about how he feels about the world is like the correct way to feel about everything. So he's just like super presumptuous and thinking like, if I tell you to be Christian, you're going to be Christian. And the way I'm going to tell you to be Christian is you see this guy, this quote unquote bad guy, convert to Christ for no fucking reason at the very end. And I'm going to tell you this is a true story, so you're going to believe me, despite the fact that there is no evidence that this anything like this ever happened.
Were you able to confirm that this happened, Scott?
I could not find any information. Scott, did you find anything?
I didn't even try to see if it was real
Julian,
or not, to be honest.
Google it, and I mean, I don't know how much time you spent on it, but the fact that it didn't even like pop up on the internet as a thing that happened, it's like, this shit did not happen.
Because I did look through the website, but all it really said was like based on a true story. Like, it wasn't. They weren't like, and look into this guy and his family and what they're doing now, or anything that would back it up in any capacity.
There were some notable executions at that prison of like foreign citizens, like Australians, but there was zero mention of them converting to Christ or any sort of like outrage about quote unquote Christians being executed. Which was a very funny part of the movie, was just like none of the outrage had to do with another country executing citizens of like England or America or wherever. It was about them executing Christians.
Right.
Which is, extremely Fox News of like, what was it? It was like Rhodesia or something, where they were like trying to say like, oh, whites are being killed by the government there.
Sure.
But it's just like, it was just fucking bullshit.
They even had that quick scene where it was like foreign diplomats meeting with each other, and like the Indonesian rep was like, yeah, you still have to kill them because that's our policy. And I'm like, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was
this talk.
It was a scene of she was a journalist, I believe, interviewing the president of Indonesia. But she was like, took a very like active approach in trying to convince him to let them go. Not a very
But also,
like
why,
many journalists, a manipulator and a fraud.
But also, why? Even in this movie, there were many foreign people executed.
Yes.
What was it about this one guy that the whole world suddenly cared that a white guy was killed in Indonesia?
Thing is, they didn't care about fucking Kevin Sorbo.
No.
Or the other guy who was like scared to die. Like they didn't care about them, despite the fact that they were like 2 American citizens, and one of them was the like
a devout Christian.
Yeah, the pastor of the fucking prison.
Yeah.
It wasn't until this one guy was about to be executed, and Cuba Gooding Jr., who we barely know anything about. We didn't even know what crime he was sentenced to death for.
I don't
potentially
think so.
Raping 30 people. But because he's Christian now, he is allowed to go. He should face no consequences. Essentially, what the movie is telling you is if you do a heinous act, if you become a Christian, you should face no repercussions for your actions.
Yeah, essentially, which is funny because the movie is confusing that for the Christian doctrine of forgiveness, but that's not really what forgiveness means.
Yeah.
In the spiritual sense. I mean, for the forgiveness you seek in Christianity is a personal contract between yourself and God, and what may happen to your soul in the afterlife. It doesn't impact whether or not you're going to be punished on earth for your crimes against the society.
I don't think it's what is the forgiveness? Because you're basically in this movie, they're basically saying like, oh, if I convert to Christianity, I will experience, someone will forgive me for my crimes. The universe will forgive me for my crimes. And you should forgive me for my crimes. As if it's some sort of like thing like where it's like, okay, I passed the test. Now you have to forgive me.
Yeah.
Like it's like, almost treated as treated as if it's like a cheat code for the criminal justice system.
Yep.
I'm not saying these people should be executed. I don't know what the fuck they did, but something should probably happen to the guy who just fucking killed his wife and a guy because they were sleeping around while he was out surfing.
He saw them on the beach.
Yeah. I feel like there should be some sort of consequence for doing that, and you shouldn't just do it and then be like, okay, I'm Christian now. Forgive me.
I think they should be made to remove their shoes and socks, and the underside of their soul should be tickled with a giant feather.
Yes.
For eternity.
Ooh, imagine going to heaven as a Christian and God is just as sick of a fuck as the devil.
I guess it could happen.
It could happen.
That sounds like the plot of like a Final Fantasy game or something.
God is like
plot.
God is like the guy from Tickled.
Yeah.
David
Tickled
right now.
Was God the whole time. And that's why he died. He had to return to heaven.
David Ticado.
David D'Amato.
We have to make sure we don't confuse them. Because there's David D'Amato and David D'Amato. And David D'Amato, whom we love, is a very benign gay pervert who made some of the greatest low-budget erotic films ever and children's movies. Those are 2 different types of movies. And then there's David D'Amato, who is like a weird billionaire who tries to entrap men to making gay porn for him.
Apologies to David Ticado.
Yeah. 2 unfortunately similarly named gay perverts of far different qualities.
Yes.
You can be a good gay pervert.
One of them
or a
is
bad
God
one.
and one of them is the devil.
The devil, honestly.
Yeah,
that makes sense. That's a good theology because, in the David D'Amato heaven, it's like everyone gets a role to perform. Like you get here's a script written just
big
for
mansion
you,
in the sky,
and also you have a really nice torso now, and here's a pair of designer underwear for you to wear at all times. And all you have to do is make movies with your friends. What if it was basically just what we do in Los Angeles, making movies with your friends, just that we were all in nice designer underwear and we all had really nice bodies. That doesn't sound that bad.
Yeah.
And if God is looking through the window and enjoying himself, whatever, that's his business. I'm just having fun with my friends.
Yeah, he's the executive producer. That's what you get to do.
Yep.
Exactly. But in the David D'Amato hell,
yeah,
that's where you are in emotional blackmail for eternity.
Hey, what was that one movie with the school of Catholic boys? And
I'm so glad you asked.
Yes. Was that David Ticado?
Yeah, that was a David D'Amato film.
Oh, it was. Okay. That's the only one I've seen. But yeah,
what's that one called? It's Voodoo Academy.
Voodoo Academy.
There's a Voodoo
and the guy
Academy
got turned
2 as well.
Ooh,
let's watch it.
That guy got turned into a piece of jelly or something, and he was like, "Man,
Yeah, and a
Yes,
little
I
dog.
should.
We could reminisce about other movies all day.
Yeah, that movie's great.
Anything else about the firing squad we should say? Because we're doing pretty good on time.
I think we pretty much covered it. Oh, okay. So when our boring hero, the real hero of the movie, or who's supposed to be, when he falls head over heels for Miriam, the only woman who comes to prison, and gives him her full attention, he asks her, once he realizes this, will you go to lunch with me? Which made me laugh out loud, because the way he asked was like, I expected it just to like cut to them at lunch, like just out at lunch in regular clothes, and then just cut back to them at prison. Like the way he asked it, it was like that was an option. And she wasn't like, you're in prison. She was like, oh, I don't date my clients or something like that. It was like, how would you guys get lunch together? It was like the same thing as the book. Like, what are you going to read? Like, what are you talking?
Well,
there's nothing else.
How he sees her, she's like walking across campus, and he stops what he's doing to like run up to her and introduce himself. He's in maximum security. He's in death row in Indonesian prison.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's not just like, they don't just like let a woman walk around the campus and like hang out with the guys.
Well,
Clearly, you've never been to prison.
clearly you've never been to
Sorry.
Indonesian prison.
I thought there were no women there. I'm no longer interested in going to prison.
I just looked up Voodoo Academy 2, and actually the correct name is 2: Voodoo Academy.
Voodoo Academy?
Wow.
Yeah.
He's such an innovator. I've never seen a movie do that.
I get, and maybe you know
Voodoo
about this, Scott, but
Academy.
he has like a whole series of movies called 1313:
Yep.
And then there's a 666: Creepy Carrie. So I don't know, something about the fucking 2: Voodoo Academy is pretty cool.
I think that the 1313, I think that had to do. My theory is that he used to name stuff with numbers in it because when Netflix first had films,
I was just thinking that.
I used to browse films by like looking at the total. You could just like click and see a list of every film on Netflix, which you can't do anymore. They'll never let you do that. Why? I don't know, but they'll never let you do that. And I'm pretty sure like that's why he would put his films at the top. So you would be like,
that makes
1313, like Alien Academy or whatever.
Right.
You'd be like, what is that? And then
it's also
this gay softcore.
That's why it's 2:
Yeah.
So it starts at the very top of it.
Yeah,
That's my theory.
probably.
Funny.
That's really smart. But also 1313 is the address of that house they shot all those movies in.
Oh, that's funny.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
But no, I'm sure he
Visionary.
puts that first like that for that reason you said. Because he is a genius.
It's fucking crazy how you can't just use any app anymore.
All
You
websites
literally
and
cannot
apps,
use them anymore.
all websites and apps have been designed to remove ease of finding.
There are like 6
Content and
movies on
information.
Netflix that you can watch at any given moment.
I know.
And you will never, and they own the rights to thousands and thousands of films, and you will never be able to see them
Yeah.
because they are hidden. Anyways.
Really insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I haven't
should
had
be-
Netflix in a long time at this point.
Me too. Fuck
Yeah.
Netflix.
They should be sent to fucking the Indonesian prison where you get called 4 eyes. Something I remembered was when the main guy went to prison the first time, he was trying to get one up on the warden. And he, as like an insult, he said, like, I've made more money in one day than you'll ever make in your life.
Yeah.
And that really
Yeah.
gets under Captain Tanu's skin. And I'm just like, you're the fucking warden in a prison where all these people are going to be executed, and you're like bothered by the fact that this guy who is on death row is like, oh, I used to have a lot more money than you.
Yeah.
Even though when he sends them to jail, he's just like, we've taken all your money. You have nothing. Even your girlfriend left you. But then when he's like, I made more money in one day than you ever had in your life, he's like, I'll shoot you right here.
Just stupid.
Nonsense. Absolute nonsense.
Nonsense movie. But at least those old people in the theater with us had something to do.
I know it kept
Tuesday
them
night.
off the streets on a warm night.
We went to a theater where you can order hot meals at the snack bar and they deliver them to your seat. It's actually better than Alamo, in my opinion, because you don't have to order at your seat. You go out and order, but then you just sit there and wait for the
I did notice it was like the people working the snack bar too who had to walk them out.
Yeah.
Which I was like, that's nice that they just pack this place full of people on Half Price Tuesday and then they make like the 12 people working there do literally every job in the theater.
Yep.
But I got tendies.
You got your tendies.
And white wine. I was drinking tendies and white wine.
Nice.
It was beautiful.
While watching The Firing Squad, while watching an Indonesian prison movie.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, a Christian Indonesian prison movie.
Yeah, at an Indonesian prison that is staffed almost exclusively by white people or people who speak perfect English with like a Midwestern accent.
Hey, Johnny, have you ever been inside an Indonesian prison?
To answer your question, I think if the people who were in our theater had not been in this movie, I do think that they would have just wandered aimlessly into traffic.
Yeah, it's good that they came.
I think they would be. I think they move in a pattern similar to the extras in this movie, where they just walk back and forth and in circles.
Yes,
unless you like lemmings before you put down the little markers to tell them which way to go.
Yeah, thank God for this movie. Good thing Tim Chey directed them to their seats.
Let's rate The Firing Squad.
Yeah.
What is the official Boys Bible Study rating of this brand new Tim Chey directed Indonesian prison movie?
This was another wonderful Tim Chey movie. 6 for 6 for me. Great. Not quite the heights of Genius Club, but I don't even know why I'm saying that because in other ways it eclipsed it. This is the most I have laughed during a Tim Chey movie. I loved Captain Tanu, who, if you ask me, is the real main character of the movie. He gets to move about the most and outlives everyone else, and is in the largest variety of scenes, you could argue. I am going to have to give this new perfect Tim Chey movie 1 million souls for Christ out of 1 million souls for Christ. Because if you go to his website, you can join the movement, trust God, save million souls, sign up to receive news and updates. That's what this movie's doing. Tim Chey believes it, and I believe in Tim Chey.
Yes. 1 million souls.
This felt like a new turn for Tim Chey. It felt like his most traditionally Christian film, and in a lot of ways, it was more enjoyable, and he pulled it better than like a lot of the Pure Flix films we watch. He certainly has the Christian movie humor down.
Yeah,
of just put people in a horrific situation or like make really bad people who often like kill or physically harm others and just make them as like stupid and stooge-like as possible. And that will make you laugh. Like that one where we had the people who kidnapped a bus full of strangers and
make terrorists fun.
Yes. You always got to have one guy who's just like Home Alone level stupid. And then you won't think about the fact that like, oh, these people are monsters that you're making us like laugh at.
Right.
I'm going to give it a John 3:16 out of John 3:16, which was the verse that our hero read that converted him to Christianity.
Very original. Good pick, Tim.
Found on his own, mind you. Found on his own.
Yeah. Very funny that, I don't know, to me it's really funny that they're like, oh, he's in here's something we missed. When he's in solitary confinement outside next to other people in like chain link cells.
Chain link fences.
Yeah.
You can see like the lake in the background too.
And people come up and talk to him. Quote unquote solitary confinement. He is given a Bible by somebody that we don't see. and I don't know if it's Kevin Sorbo, but they never explain who it is. Somebody just gives him a Bible. And I thought it was kind of amusing that they're like, 3 days without food or water, and he's like supposed to be mentally broken, and that's the point where they're like, and then he converted to Christianity. They never have like a person in good circumstances with like of totally sound body and mind be like, maybe I should become a Christian. It doesn't like really sell me on the religion if you're like, one day you're going to be essentially on the on the verge of a psychotic break.
Yeah, under extreme duress.
When you're at your weakest, under extreme duress, that is when you will see the beauty in this religion.
Well, we might have to go up to the firing squad. We might have to be put up to firing squad to find out.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this film. It was a delightful theatrical experience. I ate chicken tendies. I laughed. I was a bit disappointed that he did not get a pot shot in at car alarms, because there have been multiple Tim Chey movies where a character says, "Do you know what I hate? Car alarms."
Yes.
But he did get the football one. I cannot believe he got the sports reference in there. That is incredible. So this was an amazing Tim Chey movie. I'm gonna have to give this film 2 out of 2 mannequins, because for some reason the hardest I laughed in the movie was when, out of nowhere, they've never used these props before. They just cut to a scene of the guards shooting 2 like naked mannequins. Like they didn't have faces or like, but it was just like so weird to see out of nowhere that I don't know why. I've been stifling laughter the whole time, and I just like burst out laughing. Like I was just
that
really
was a great
overtaken by
moment.
that.
Just an unnecessary like scene showing guards practicing their firing practice, and like the bullet holes on the mannequins too. Just like crappy effect, like overlaid.
So funny.
Basically,
They dragged out
Wonderful.
the fucking. It was like they kept showing how much time was left until the execution. It'd be like 3 months, 1 week.
Oh my God.
And it was like
so
it was like
tedious.
16 hours, and it was like those last 16 hours took like 45 minutes of the movie.
Jesus Christ. And there was like multiple executions being tracked. It was like, if I remember correctly, it was like 2 days to Linwood's execution.
Yeah.
Like one, so it was just like every scene had a countdown of a different thing that they were counting down to. And it was just like, oh my God, who gives a fuck?
And they also referred to Kevin Sorbo's character was Linwood,
Yeah.
but then they would only refer to him as like Peter or Paul or something.
All biblical names, if you notice. They were all called like Peter, Paul, Samuel, whatever. It was very stupid.
Interesting.
Very stupid. John. Well.
Powerful film.
Powerful film. To our gentle listeners, thank you very much for tuning into our coverage of the brand new Tim Chey Christian movie, The Firing Squad. And, it's always a delight when a Christian film hits theaters. And if it's one that's of interest to us, we will make every effort to go. And if you like this episode, you want to hear our coverage of other Christian films, old and new, go to boysbiblestudy.com to check out the rest of our free episodes. And if you want to hear even more content from Boys Bible Study, please go to patreon.com/boysbiblestudy to subscribe and get access to our bonus episodes. And to our most generous patrons, who we shout out in every episode, the Supreme Court has appealed your case. All of our patrons at the $20 tier: Nicole, Marissa, Jeff, Rhett, and Mark. Thank you for your generous support. And our outro song is "Oh My God" by Mary. So from all of us here at Boys Bible Study, myself, Ash, my co-hosts, Scott and Julian, we would like to say, peace be with you.
And also with you, Will. And Will, also with you.
Is that Reagan?
I'm looking at Reagan. Here's a comment on the Reagan trailer. The best gift Reagan left us. I'm totally reversing my position on making fun of Reagan, by the way, after reading these comments. The best gift Reagan left us was not beating the USSR, although that one is definitely up there, but that he gave us the 80s. The music of this short decade would be replayed and sung for hundreds of years to come, and the spirit that sprang thereof would embody the American
I like
dream.
to be contrarian, but he didn't
continue
give us the
to
80s.
inspire countless future generations. Bear in mind that I feel like most bands in the 80s hated Reagan. But that's the gift he gave us. He led us to the promised land that he couldn't go in, you know?
The greatest trick Reagan ever pulled was convincing us he didn't exist.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I feel your love in me, it's coming from within. Oh my God, my devotion is so unwavering. Divine emotions when you enter me. Every day you